The sobbing stopped. Daniel froze outside the break room door, his janitor's cart squeaking to a halt. For 3 months, he'd heard laughter, complaints, gossip, but never this raw, heartbroken crying. Someone was falling apart. In his own store. The muffled sound of tissues being pulled from a box echoed through the thin walls. He should walk away. Mind his own business like any janitor would. But something in those broken sobs made his chest tighten. Daniel Hartwell adjusted his worn baseball cap. At 38, he'd inherited Hartwell's department store from his father, but the company was hemorrhaging money. Store closures loomed. Massive layoffs seemed inevitable. That's why he'd gone undercover. Working as Danny the janitor for 3 months, trying to understand what was really destroying his family's legacy. The crying resumed. Softer now, but more desperate somehow. He recognized that voice. The new cashier from Register 7. What was her name? Brooklyn something. She'd started just 2 weeks ago, always arriving early, staying late, never complaining about the demanding customers or the broken equipment. He knocked gently. Hello? You okay in there? Silence stretched long. Then footsteps, and the door cracked open. Red-rimmed eyes peered out. 23, maybe 24 years old, with auburn hair pulled back in a messy ponytail. Her Hartwell's name tag read Brooklyn M. Oh, she whispered. It's Danny, right? The janitor. She wiped her nose with a crumpled tissue. I'm sorry, I know I shouldn't be crying here. I'll clock out and, hey now, Daniel said softly. Break room belongs to all of us. You need to sit down. She hesitated, then stepped back to let him in. The small room felt cramped with both of them there. Fluorescent light buzzing overhead, motivational posters peeling from the walls. She slumped into a plastic chair, shoulders shaking. She started, then stopped. You wouldn't understand. You seem like you got your life figured out. Daniel almost laughed. If only she knew. Instead, he sat across from her, setting his janitor keys on the table. Try me. Brooklyn looked up. Her eyes held a weight that seemed too heavy for someone so young. My little brother Tyler. He's only 16, but he's been sick for months. The doctors finally figured out what's wrong, but the treatment. Her voice cracked. It's going to cost more money than I'll make in 10 years. What kind of treatment? Daniel asked quietly. Experimental therapy. Insurance won't cover it because it's still in trials, but it's his only shot. She pulled out her phone, showing him a picture of a thin boy with the same auburn hair, grinning despite the hospital gown. He's all I got left. Our parents died in a car accident 3 years ago. I've been taking care of him since I was 20. Daniel's throat tightened. That's a lot for anyone to handle. I've been working 3 jobs, she continued, staring at the table. This one, nights at the diner on Patterson Boulevard, and weekends cleaning offices. But it's not enough. It's never enough. Fresh tears spilled down her cheeks. The doctors say we have maybe 2 months before it's too late to start treatment. The weight of her words settled heavy. Daniel had been worried about quarterly profits and stockholder meetings, while this young woman was fighting to save her brother's life with whatever pocket change she could scrape together. How much? He asked. How much do you need? $87,000. She laughed bitterly. Might as well be $1 million. I've applied for every grant, every charity program. Nothing. The treatment center wants half upfront before they'll even schedule him. Daniel's mind raced. As CEO, he could write that check without blinking. But Danny the janitor, he'd blow his cover instantly. Still, there had to be another way. Listen, he said carefully. I might know someone who could help. Someone with connections. Savannah shook her head. I've tried everything, Danny. Rich people don't care about kids like Caleb. We're just invisible to them. If only she knew she was sitting across from one of those rich people right now. The irony burned in his chest. What if I told you, Daniel said slowly, that sometimes the people with the most to give are the ones you'd least expect. She studied his face. What do you mean? Before he could answer, the break room door burst open. Patricia Vance, the store manager, stormed in looking furious. At 42, she'd been running this location for 8 years. And Daniel had been watching her closely during his undercover stint. Rodriguez. Patricia snapped. What are you doing hiding back here? We've got customers backed up to electronics, and you're having a therapy session with the janitor. Savannah jumped up. I'm sorry, Mrs. Vance. I was just. I don't want to hear it. Patricia's voice was ice cold. This is your second week, and you're already causing drama. Maybe this job isn't a good fit. Daniel felt his temper flare. She was on her break, wasn't she? Patricia whirled on him. Excuse me. Since when does the cleanup crew have opinions about employee management? Since I've been watching how you treat people around here, Daniel said, standing up. Something in his voice made both women freeze. The room went dead silent. Patricia's eyes narrowed. What did you just say to me? Daniel pulled off his baseball cap, ran his fingers through his hair. 3 months of keeping his mouth shut, watching, learning. But this was too much. This was exactly what was wrong with his company. I said I've been watching. He reached into his pocket and pulled out his wallet, extracting a business card. And I don't like what I see. Patricia read the card. Her face went white as paper. Oh my God, Hartwell? But you're the janitor, Daniel finished. For the past 3 months. Trying to figure out why this company is failing. He looked directly at Patricia. Now I know. Savannah stared between them, confused. I don't understand. Daniel turned to her. Savannah, I'm Daniel Hartwell. I own this store. This whole chain, actually. The color drained from her face. You're the CEO. And you, he said, turning back to Patricia, just threatened to fire someone for crying about her dying brother. On her break. While I sat right here listening. Patricia started stammering. Mr. Hartwell, I had no idea. If I'd known you were. That's exactly the problem, Daniel said. You treat people differently based on who you think they are. That's not leadership. That's just power games. He walked to the window, looking out at the parking lot where employees were heading to their cars after long shifts. Some of them probably had their own Savannah stories. Their own struggles he'd never bothered to learn about. Savannah, he said quietly, tell me about your brother again. Still in shock, she stammered through the story once more. The experimental treatment. The deadline. The impossible amount of money. When she finished, Daniel was quiet for a long moment. Then he pulled out his phone and dialed a number. Marcus. It's Daniel. I need you to call Dr. Elizabeth at St. Mary's Research Hospital. Yes, tonight. There's a 16-year-old named Caleb Rodriguez who needs to be enrolled in their experimental program immediately. He paused. No, money's not an issue. Full sponsorship through the Hartwell Foundation. Savannah's knees buckled. She grabbed the table for support. What are you doing? What I should have done years ago, Daniel said, ending the call. Actually paying attention to the people who make this company run. Patricia stood frozen in the corner, realizing her career was probably over. But why? Savannah whispered. You don't even know me. Daniel thought about that. 3 months ago, he wouldn't have cared about one employee's personal problems. Numbers on a spreadsheet. Expendable resources. But sitting in that break room, seeing her pain up close, he changed something fundamental. Because, he said finally, someone once told me that the measure of a man isn't what he does when people are watching. It's what he does when he thinks nobody important is looking. Tears streamed down Savannah's face. I can't accept this. It's too much. Actually, you can't refuse, Daniel smiled. It's already done. Marcus is probably talking to Dr. Right now. He turned to Patricia. Clean out your office. I want your resignation on my desk by Monday. Patricia's mouth opened and closed like a fish. Mr. Hartwell, pleased I've got a mortgage, kids in college. Then you should have thought about treating people with kindness, Daniel said. The way Savannah treats customers. The way she shows up early and stays late without being asked. The way she keeps working 3 jobs to save her brother's life instead of giving up. He looked back at Savannah. You're getting Patricia's job. Store manager. Full benefits, salary increase, and a work schedule that gives you time to be with Caleb during his treatment. But I've only been here 2 weeks. And in 2 weeks, you've shown more integrity than some people show in years. Daniel picked up his janitor keys from the table. I've been watching, remember? You helped Mrs. Elizabeth find her reading glasses when she dropped them. You stayed 20 minutes late to help that teenager pick out a dress for homecoming. You gave your employee discount to the single mom who couldn't afford school supplies. He paused. You think rich people don't care about kids like Caleb? You're wrong. We just forget sometimes. Until someone reminds us what really matters. Savannah was crying again, but these were different tears. I don't know what to say. Say you'll take good care of this store, Daniel replied. And that you'll treat every employee the way you'd want Caleb treated if he worked here. She nodded, unable to speak. Daniel headed toward the door, then stopped. Oh, and Savannah? That experimental treatment your brother needs? Dr. Elizabeth pioneered it. She lost her own son to the same condition 10 years ago. When Marcus calls her tonight, she'll move heaven and earth to help Caleb. He walked out, leaving Savannah staring after him in amazement. 6 months later, Daniel stood in the same break room. The motivational posters had been replaced with employee appreciation photos. The fluorescent light had been fixed. And sitting at the table, reviewing next week's schedule, was Savannah. Now the best store manager in the entire chain. How's Caleb doing? He asked. She looked up and smiled. His latest test results came back yesterday. Dr. Elizabeth says the treatment is working better than they hoped. He might be able to start his senior year of high school in the fall. That's wonderful news. Mr. Hartwell, she said quietly, I've been meaning to ask you something. What's that? That night, when you found me crying in here, you said someone once told you about the measure of a man. Who said that to you? Daniel smiled, thinking of his father, the original founder of Hartwell's department store, who'd built the business on treating employees like family. Somewhere along the way, Daniel had forgotten those lessons. Until a 23-year-old cashier reminded him what really mattered. Someone who would have been very proud of you, he said simply. Outside the window, snow was falling again. But this time, it felt like a promise instead of an ending. The store was thriving. Employee turnover had dropped to almost 0. And in the children's wing of St. Mary's Hospital, a 16-year-old boy was getting stronger every day, thanks to his sister's love and a reminder that kindness, even from unexpected places, could change everything. Sometimes the greatest discoveries happen when we stop looking down from the top dot and start seeing the world through someone else's eyes. And sometimes, the people who have the least to give are the ones who give the most. The weight of kindness, Daniel had learned, was never too heavy to carry.